Okay, do I look different enough for you? It's my third vlog filmed this way today. This one is Master of Science for an Ecocentric Worldview, 2023. I will name this one 695. Listen to this.
Rose Abramoff joins us now from Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Dr. Abramoff. It's great to have you with us. Can you talk about the action you engaged in and your response to your firing?
Sure, Amy. Thank you. So like you said, I was attending the largest annual gathering of Earth scientists. This was in December of last year in Chicago, where I presented work on the effect of climate and land use change on carbon cycling. And Peter, my friend who was holding the banner and NASA climate scientist, was presenting on extreme humid heat in urban areas. So these are very relevant studies.
Okay, so they were there not just as demonstrators, but, offering their studies. Now, this is from Democracy Now! The title is Out of the Lab and Into the Streets, which is what their sign said. Meet Earth scientist fired after engaging in climate protests. Her employer just fired her, and the employer is the U.S. government. Now, I was supposed to read the letter I fired my master's degree faculty with, and I was up to the appendix, but now I'm going to read my thesis introduction draft, and you're going to see why. And if you watch this video, you'll see that there is applause when somebody takes down their banner. So remember, in the audience, scientists may or may not have been smart enough to notice these were, accomplished scientists, because they might have just said, this is a disturbance, get it away, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Because you can see the audience response of scientists is they're happy that somebody has taken them away from the stage. So can you rely on scientists who are as self-involved and self-serving as the norm? The norm includes oil industry, for example, right? So again, don't count on scientists who don't get arrested, which is a lot of what I wanted to mention, as I knew that there was a lot of fake elitism in my own master's degree program on so-called sustainability. Now, I'll let you listen. I haven't listened to this yet, but I'll listen a little bit with you, and then I'll read my thesis draft.
After we were finished with our professional obligations, we unfurled this banner at the plenary and made our plea to action. We were very quickly escorted off the stage by organizers of the meeting. We were expelled from the conference. And most troubling to me is that our work was removed from the conference program, which we had presented earlier that week, as if it had never been presented. And then, of course, as you describe, a few weeks later, I was fired by my employer and citing this incident.
So there's more to listen to. I'll let you guys do that. But you can see that scientists only go up in academia or elitism, and there's nobody to blame but the norm. Okay, that includes other scientists. So if you want to be a hypocrite as a scientist, then your career will go higher. There's no way that our species, which is called the Anthropocene, can save itself with science. Science right now is something that has been, well, you figure it out, okay? But becoming a scientist among the norm means that you're really part of the problem, okay? There's no way that you can be part of the solution unless... I fired my master's degree faculty, and I'm going to keep saying it for years and years, and I'm going to keep showing you what their response is, even as I'm showing them years later. I'm doing vlogs about them still not responding to this letter. So fighting hypocrisy makes me quite an uncompromised scientist, and she seems to be as well. And that's why, the labs, if you want to call them that, are a little bit where you're expected to be a domesticate. But that doesn't mean on Earth you can't do science outside of a lab and be an independent and therefore be part of the solution. So again, this thesis draft introduction draft that I'm going to read really puts the emphasis on scientists who were willing to go against the norm. And in the norm here, we can include everybody, including the norm of scientists. Okay, so I'm going to start reading this. So the title I chose is Anthropocentric High. And I meant this in various ways. Okay, you might figure it out. It's related to high as in high school, or high as it on drugs, like suffering from human chauvinism. Okay, an analysis of the extent to which ecocentrism exists as a core concept within BC secondary school curriculum by Martin Parizeau. Okay, and presented as part of the requirement for the degree of Master of Arts in Sustainable Leisure Management within the Department of Recreation and Tourism Management at Vancouver Island University. May 1st, 2015. So I repeat the title, Anthropocentric High, an analysis of the extent to which ecocentrism exists as a core concept within the BC secondary school curriculum, Chapter 1, Introduction. Personal, thus societal worldviews form at a very young age. And then in red brackets, find a reference from Piaget. While ways of interpreting reality continue to evolve throughout life, it is recognized that foundational and long-lasting worldviews are deeply instilled by late adolescence and only dislodged or significantly altered under extraordinary circumstances. And then I said, put other reference. Now these are things I know have been talked about by others, but in academia, you're supposed to follow this elitism thing. Although you figured this out on your own, you have to find somebody who published something like this that said it before you, whether you know about them or not, whether you've come to this conclusion or not, which is kind of a flaw in academia. It kind of shows the elitism big time there. It stands to reason that any program of study inevitably contains underlying principles and elements that will find their way into students' ideas, behaviors, and ways of thinking. And then find a meme reference. These frames of reference will find their expression as adolescents continue their quest to understand the world. By the way, a theme in adolescence right now is almost, what's the point? It's almost like they have no purpose or worldview, but they're confused except for knowing everything's going badly and it's going to get worse and you can't count on anybody and I don't understand what to do and I'm supposed to make a choice and it's not fair and everybody's going inside themselves in very mentally ill or addictions related ways, okay? And it's predictable to increase with HSD, my theory. A given set of theoretical underpinnings may be explicit, as in some of the ideas that are deliberately imparted to students in religious or alternative school programs. Worldviews may also be implicit, as occurred in the case of government-supported public education. Reference The Atheist, because I'd read an article about that I wanted to get back to for a reference citing that particular argument. If our goal is a viable future led by ecologically responsible citizens, the value of developing a BC education curriculum based on ecocentrism is clear. Future generations would be better equipped to resolve the ecological imbalances that require wisdom in global systems thinking. Ecocentrism is a worldview that places intrinsic value on all organisms as well as all natural systems without consideration of their benefits to humanity. And I wrote reference. I'll find some sort of reference for that because I think that was more my words. And I'm on page 3 of 13, and I'm not going to read this all in one part. And I'll probably do a part 2 of this where I'll have you listen to more of this Democracy Now! Interview that I have not listened to myself. So let me continue a little bit more. Ecocentrism reflects a set of holistic ethics which tend to lead sapient, with a 1, so I'll read later what it means, beings to follow moral laws that promote the greater good of the whole as opposed to the individual, because sapience would lead to this. Tribal, cultural, economic, or even political and religious affiliation. Find a reference. I'm sure there is. Okay, but scientists that talk about this are pushed back down consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously. Collective unconscious does it. We've already failed as a species before I was born. My theory explains this. So, of course, even people have said the same things I've said that I find, they will be ignored because swimming against a river requires the ability to do miracles at this part of the Anthropocene. Okay, that's not part of what I'm reading, but ecocentrism. And again, this thesis is written, in a neutral way, right? It doesn't attack anybody, and it doesn't give more or less hope. It's an academic document, right? Ecocentrism, as a philosophical underpinning for understanding our place in the world, is perhaps considered to be first articulated by Aldo Leopold in 1949 in his seminal work, A Sand County Almanac. By the way, we had heard about that in the first course in my program. Okay, so it's not like the teachers didn't know anything about it. According to Leopold's ecocentric view, a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise. So in essence, I don't know if he knew back then, but our species, obviously, the data suggests we are not right. The purpose of this paper is to determine the extent to which ecocentrism as a foundational concept is integrated within the BC Ministry of Education curriculum with a view to ecocentric education designs whose integration into the provincial curriculum could benefit BC students. The second chapter will begin with a review of the literature on ecocentric theory with the intention of establishing an holistic systems-based definition. This definition will provide the template against which the BC curriculum can be judged for its adherence to the principles of ecocentrism so defined. This paper, by the way, when I read you guys a few months ago, I think, the letter I sent to the BC Ministry of Advanced Education, I believe I included this. So if they did read it before they provided their ridiculous response, and I could show you some of the ridiculous responses from presenting this draft to my supervisors as well, is you will see that, you would know by listening to this that they would, this is intense. This seems like a lot of work, and being a public servant is usually a choice of a career of the path of least resistance. So, all right, so I'm going to continue next time, and I think I'm more than 10 minutes right now. Yes, I am, and it'll be a 3-part, actually. Thank you.